My name is Hira, and I would love to introduce you to my book, The Tangram Method. But before I talk about the book, I would like to share with you the journey that led me to write it. A journey shaped by my deep connection with my brother Sese and the young people I've worked with over the years. So, a bit of my personal story and lessons from Sese. Sese is my younger brother who is learning disabled and also autistic. And growing up in the northeast of Brazil, Sese and I shared a bond that went beyond typical sibling dynamics. From a young age, it was clear to me that he had challenges different to mine or our older siblings. Although my parents noticed he was different from his first months, he was not given a diagnosis until he was 5. Doctors said he had a sort of cognitive delay. They explained to my parents that his cognitive age didn't match his chronological age. And after that official diagnosis, he was given a place at a special school. He had also started walking late at the age of 4 and always struggled to walk, and for years needed orthopedic shoes to support his feet. Communication was another challenge. He developed his own unique language, which only those close to him could understand. We called it speaking Sese. Even today, when I meet my best friend from childhood, we still find ourselves slipping back into Sese's language. Despite these challenges, Sese was always joyful and determined. Playing outside wasn't straightforward for us. We had to adapt. My friends and I learned to create games where Sese could be included in some way. He loved being seen and being the center of attention. On occasions, he would refuse to go back home, and we had to carry him, as I used to do when we were younger and he couldn't walk. Looking back, those moments were lessons in inclusion before I even knew the word or the concept. They taught me the importance of finding ways to adapt to the world to fit someone else's abilities rather than expecting them to fit into the rigid mold. It wasn't him who had to play our games. It was us who changed our games so he could play. Years later, as a primary school teacher and then curriculum manager, I focused on mainstream pedagogy without any emphasis on additional needs, as this was the norm at the time. Inclusion was in my heart in the shape of creating learning experiences to all children, being accepting, non-judgmental, supportive, and using all my creativity to find different ways to present the subjects to promote the best learning possible. I was an adept of the Freirean libertarian pedagogy and many constructivist schools of thought, but that was as far as my pedagogy endeavors went at that point. The reality was segregated. It wasn't until I read about inclusive education in other countries that I had my epiphany. Why wasn't this a part of our educational conversations in Brazil until then? A few years after that epiphany, and years of actively seeking answers, I left Brazil to do a doctorate in Portugal, investigating a very unique, inclusive school that had been breaking the mold for over 25 years. In my first year, I had to put that course on hold and move here to the UK. But 2 years later, I was accepted by the University of Southampton to start a PhD. But the real turning point towards autism only came when I began working in a secondary school where I met many students, and they had been transferred from their original schools in year 10 to this brand new school. Many of these young people were autistic. I developed a positive rapport with them quite quickly, and that put me in the privileged position of being their safe space. Through one-to-one coaching sessions with them, I developed a model that years later became the foundation of the Tangram method. Why Tangram? Tangram is a puzzle, but unlike other traditional puzzles that have only one solution, like the jigsaw puzzle, the Tangram can be rearranged into countless shapes. To me, this represents the beauty and diversity of the human mind. It's the perfect metaphor for neurodiversity. So my method combines elements of my coaching model that I had developed when working at that secondary school to relate, and the autism awareness sessions that emerged organically from those learners' needs. As part of the Tangram method, I developed tools, including awareness cards, to help young people to explore their strengths and challenges. The neurodiversity awareness deck is organized into 4 categories: executive functioning, central coherence, theory of mind, and contextual awareness. Each category is represented by a specific color and a deck name. For example, the mind reader for theory of mind, the multitasker for executive function, the link maker for central coherence, and the contextualizer for contextual awareness. The cards help the young person to build a unique recipe of their thinking processes by selecting which ones they identify with and excluding the ones they don't. So they build 2 piles, one called "This is me" and the other one called "This is not me." With the recipe in hand, the young person has opportunities to articulate their identity. We will discuss matters of everyday life and school experiences relating to the identified characteristics or traits in an attempt to unwrap the masking strategies and better understand the difficulties faced by them in a neuroaffirming mindset. Sometimes a young person would struggle to choose a card as they were unsure if they thought and behaved in a certain way because it was their natural inclination, or if they learned to do so to meet external expectations. It was very powerful to see them coming to their own conclusions about their masking strategies, their unconscious masking habits, and how their mask had been embedded in how they saw their own identity and how others saw them as well. Unmasking is a huge task, which my sessions only hinted on. There are some good results, and that's why I thought I would write about the method. This process has been transformative for the young people I worked with. It has helped many of them understand themselves better and reduce the pressure to fit in. There is still so much to be learned from neurodivergent experiences to bridge the double empathy gap. My hope is that the Tangram method will inspire educators, parents, teaching assistants, and anyone who works with neurodivergent individuals to rethink their approach. The jigsaw puzzle piece, for so long the symbol of autism, inevitably signposts us to a fixed solution. What a strong metaphor to explain why people mask. You need to complete the only picture possible, don't you? As I close, I want to leave you with this. What if we approached every person like a Tangram puzzle, seeing the infinite possibilities of who they can be, rather than trying to fit them into a single mode?